Hi, all of you that may think that you're a 9 out at HKS. It's interesting. Many HKS kids do identify as 9s. Sometimes I wonder, 9s as peacemakers. Maybe it's because we're in this kind of, fusion of cultures between, Chinese culture and Western culture or whatever. I find a lot of kids are 9s at HKS. And let's find out if you think you are a 9. So 9s are peacemakers. And they're at the center of the body triad. So they're supposed to be in their bodies, but we find that they're the ones that are the most out of touch with their bodies. And this is part of the complexity of being a 9. Their issue also is anger, but this is a real problem for 9s because they pride themselves in being peacemakers. So it is a contradiction. And what I want to say to 9s is if you feel anger, if you can identify anger, oftentimes that's a really important part of the step in becoming your true self, because 9s have to use that anger to break out of some of their habits of zoning out and just kind of fitting in order to find what they're supposed to be. They need the energy of anger to assert their true self. Okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about it. So they value harmony in their social groups. They're really good at that. Oftentimes they'll sacrifice themselves for the good of the group and the good of the whole, for their family and friends. They're very likable. We love 9s. They're soft, accommodating. They seem to easily merge into others. And therefore they have these kind of low boundaries, which is actually a real problem. I mean, it's nice for those of us around 9s. But because they have low boundaries, other people can kind of intrude on them, and they don't oftentimes have a sense of self in the way a lot of the other types do. Their gift is grounded acceptance of others. Maybe more than any other type, they just accept people as they are. So this is, again, why we love 9 so much, is they just take us as we are, okay? They know and love others, or they can, in very deep ways. Now, the shadow side is they don't know what they want, or they don't know who they are. If you're the type that doesn't know what you want to do for dinner, you don't want to know what you want to major in college, you have the hardest time making any decisions, you might be a 9. Now 9s oftentimes are really good at imitating all the other types. So if you're even confused about whether you're a 9 because you have so many other choices, you might be a 9. Okay, so you may want to think about that. All right. So like I said, they are the most disconnected from their bodies. They have issues with autonomy. It's easy for them to be taken advantage of because of these low boundaries. So what happens is they'll be like, people will kind of walk on them, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, up go the boundaries, and it's the anger that has driven that. So sometimes the peacemakers can all of a sudden be really difficult people and incredibly stubborn, kind of out of nowhere, and it really surprises people. It's like, what happened to you? Okay, yeah. In general, though, they're not like that. In general, they're easy to zone out or numb out. They just don't like to deal with emotions because they suppress them. They generally have problems with low energy. They sleep a lot. This is really interesting. 9s, when they get stressed, they'll go to sleep. And sometimes they'll sleep for a long, long time. Okay? This is, again, very, very different from, say, like a 5, which when they get stressed, they can't sleep. 9s, when they get stressed, they go to sleep. Okay, yeah, I already said that. If you can't decide what you are, check out 9. Now, the wonderful thing is 9s become like healthy 3s. So if you can be a healthy 9, all of a sudden you're an achiever. Okay, but you got to fight through these asserting yourself to be that productive 3. Okay, having a hard time asking anything for themselves. Yeah, they really don't like to ask anybody for anything. And despite popularity, and this is also part of the interesting thing, everybody loves 9s, but they need more alone time than any other type. So even though they're popular at parties, they get exhausted by parties. So it's actually there's a lot of contradictions going on here for the 9s, which is why a lot of 9s, even though we love them, they suffer a lot because they're confused about themselves. So here's my example. this lovely kid, Jessica, from last year. And her issue was she just had a very hard time expressing her emotions. And so what she decided to do is write letters of appreciation. So she wrote letters to people just to exercise actually just saying something that she really feels. And she said she really had felt like this was a problem, that she said, I don't like being vulnerable. I'm scared that people will reject me in a sense. I find it easier not to talk about things that matter or about my feelings. I repress my emotions. I don't deal with them. But again, contradictorily, they have a lot of stress, and there's the anger that I was talking about. Okay, so this was a great practice for Jessica to actually exercise feeling emotions and then giving them to other people. So what can nines do? Lots of practices for nines. First of all, anything to get them into the body. Body scans really work well. Now, nines oftentimes like meditation because they're very calm types. So meditation for a lot of nines comes very naturally. How about this? Journaling about your true desires. What do you want as a 9? Go ahead, write it down. And if you have anger, process the anger. Don't act out on it, but try to get in touch with the anger to energize you to find yourself. Okay, like I said, writing letters, mindful walking, especially grounding. Grounding means to actually put your bare feet in the soil. This can be very helpful so that they can be in modes they're not zoning out. Now, breathe from the chest, the opposite of the 8s that are supposed to breathe in the belly. 9s naturally breathe from the belly because they're just so relaxed. So I actually practice breathing in the chest helps, again, energize them. Okay? So, yeah, hope that helps you and as you try to figure out whether you're a 9. May I just add one other thing? So 9s with an 8 wing tend to be more aggressive, right? That 8 challenger side of them. Whereas 9s with a 1 wing tend to be really good students, like obedient students. They tend to be very detail-oriented, and they tend to oftentimes quite spiritual types, the 9 wing 1. Okay, so hopefully I'll give you a little bit more background. Good luck, 9s, as you try to figure out yourself and your spiritual practice.